Welcome to season 2 premiere of the Young Money Diet podcast. As always, we're going to start with a hot take, and my hot take starts with this $70 cash. So, just yesterday, I sold my office chair for $70. And I actually bought this office chair 2 years ago, brand new, for $95. So, my hot take is people need to spend time just trying to save more money, or even just asking, hey, what brand is this chair? Because if this individual had just looked it up and saw they could have bought it brand new for $95, why buy something? I mean, mine was in great shape, but still, I think individuals need to just be a little bit less impulsive and spend the 5 minutes doing the research to save themselves money. And I know we're only talking about $20-$30, but in the long run, I've seen people spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on things that they could have just bought brand new. So when I'm at the grocery store even and I see something I want, I always check Amazon. I check Facebook Marketplace. It's a quick 2-minute check to see if you can save yourself some money. So I would have easily, and negotiating too, I would have taken $40 for the chair. So that's my hot
Right.
tip.
No, I like that, Raj. A couple things I want to quickly mention on that. Number one, I've never done this because I'm not as good as Raj, but I know you can look at a barcode or something and then use the barcode to look that up on Amazon. So that's something that you can use. Second, I love the idea because I think I once had a Chromecast which I traded with some guy's computer monitor, and the Chromecast brand new was literally worth $30. 30 brand new. So I'm like, if this man had even looked this, I don't even know why he had agreed to this, but maybe he needed that. But again, I 100% agree with you. A little bit of due diligence would pay dividends in the long term. But anyways, thank you guys for joining us for season 2. We're very, very excited. We're going to start off today talking about credit cards, how credit cards are really, really important to your financial portfolio, how you want to use them. But rather than having a structured discussion about just all the goods, we're also going to balance it out today with all the benefits and all the pros and cons of credit cards. So I think it's very, very important. And I'll start us off, Raj, and you can jump in as you see fit. Is to understand credit scores and what that means, because it's such an impactful portion of our life, and a lot of us don't fully understand what credit scores are. So credit scores generally is a very good, the way I would define it is it's your ability that you have proven over time to be able to repay debt. So credit score, in order to have one, you would have had to have some level of debt, and then how you pay that debt back, in what percentages, in what increments, in what frequency allows you to build your credit score over time. So where this credit score gets used is very, very diverse. So you can, your potential people that are renting out their properties might check your credit score to see if you're a reliable tenant. Maybe even in some job applications, they might look at your credit score to see if you're fiscally responsible. It depends on if it makes sense. It could be in the sense of when you're looking for loans, obviously. That's a very obvious place. Mortgages, auto loans, potentially getting new credit cards to see where your credit score lies, to figure that out. So to have...
So, Asif, just a question, because I think there's a common misconception, and I actually don't know a lot about credit score, so generally just curious. You mentioned the credit score is calculated through debt and being able to pay off debt. So if I, let's say I have $100 in credit from a credit card, but I pay the balance off without incurring any interest, does that help me build credit scores? Or because I've heard from individuals in high school, they went and financed a vehicle and said, oh, I did this to build my credit score, because you need to have some sort of interest carrying debt. So what does that look like?
So so I'll talk about, I guess, everything that kind of tailors towards your credit score and how you build or have a really good credit score. So number one, you want to start early. So if you're at 18, get some kind of product that allows you to have a sort of either a revolving debt or a debt where you can pay it off. So the difference is a revolving debt is a reoccurring bill. So for example, cell phone bill. So you have every month you have $100 that's due, and you have to pay that before you have your expiry date on when the bill incurs interest. Or your credit card, which is not a set amount. Your credit card could be at $100 this month, $7,000 the next month. Make sure you pay that off as well. So yes, you definitely want to pay it in full, which has a huge impact on your credit score. So paying it in full definitely shows that you're fiscally responsible and you're able to pay back debt, which is what goes towards your credit score and bolstering that. So number one, pay it off in full. Number two, start early because you want to have, the longer your history is, the better your credit scores are going to be. So if you only have proven that you can pay off debt in the last 3 months, that's not nearly as impactful as someone who's shown that they can pay off debt for 7 years consistently.
So
Consistency is the key.
I'll play devil's advocate, and it's going to be ironic because I'm all about credit cards. But
Right.
credit scores, in my opinion, you mentioned starting early. That's a dangerous precedent because there are the misconceptions. So I know 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds that have gone and financed vehicles, and their justification was, oh, I'm building my credit. That is just a lame excuse to go splurge and waste money. So me personally, right hand on my heart, I have never checked my credit score in my entire life. I don't know what it is. I'm a Dave Ramsey guy that I don't care what it is. I've never had any problems renting, financing. So when I actually went to go rent with my wife, now wife, they asked, hey, can you
Provide your credit score?
can you present your credit score? And I said, no.
Yeah.
But here I can put the damage deposit down, no problem. Here's proof of some of the assets I have. And they weren't actually satisfied with that. They said, oh, well, can you show us your income? And I said, well, no, actually, I hadn't started working full time yet. I was still a student. So Brittany actually had to show her income. So we did run into problems. I won't admit that it was seamless. However, if you can't save up for the down payment, or you can't present income or assets or whatever that's going to satisfy them, then stay with your parents and save the money. Because just because you have a credit score doesn't mean you're going to be able to go and rent. So I actually am not a proponent for credit scores. I think it's a lame excuse. Of course, if somebody has a detrimental score because they've defaulted on a loan or something, then yes, that's a telltale sign. But I'm more interested, and other people are more interested in, what's your income? What are your assets? Is this individual actually going to be adequately capable to pay this back? If you're 18 years old and you've invested in GameStop and got millions of dollars, but you have no credit score, they don't care. They don't care.
Yeah, they don't. Because you have the money. Like, at the end of the day, like, if you're fundamentally, anytime someone's trying to evaluate your ability to repay a debt, they really should do the research and look at your assets and liabilities. Like, that's how they really know if you have the ability to pay something back. The credit score is, how do I put it? It's a very quick and dirty way for them to avoid doing the work and very quickly make a snap decision on whether or not, where you lie financially, to be able to do or establish a new financial relationship with you. But just to kind of finish off the thought, so like, we can definitely weigh in on our opinion on what we think on credit cards or credit scores in general. But people that are in this game, which is most of us, because we all have some level of credit relationship with some kind of financial institution, I'm looking to talk about what we should be doing to make sure that we have a healthy credit score, because we already have them, so it makes sense to monitor it. So number one, again, I was just going through what we need to do to keep the credit score high, which is pay off your bills in full, make sure you have a longer history, and the last one that's important is make sure your utilization ratio is low. So for example, if you have $500 of credit available to you every month and you spend close to your max, that looks really bad. It means like you actually genuinely always stretch it, like you're kind of at the extreme to be able to pay that off, versus if you had $50,000 available to you every month in credit, but you spend $500, that you look like a gold star, like you don't even need the money. So it's very relative. Couple of quick shout outs, and then you can jump on, Raj, is for monitoring your credit score, I recommend, there's a couple of services that are free, that are really easy to keep, that don't hurt your credit, is Credit Karma. I will leave a link to that, and then Borrowell. Those are really, really easy. I bank with Scotiabank, and through their internal client, I think they have an option in their checking account to just click and it shows your credit score as well. Raj,
Awesome.
What are your thoughts?
Sure. So to kind of transition into credit cards, I'm going to be taking the stance on why they're so powerful and how I personally use them. And then Wasif also shares that, but he's going to be giving the other side of the story and talking about the Dave Ramsey approach, why credit is terrible, credit cards are terrible, just pay for things that with money that you have. So me personally, I love credit cards. I usually have 5, 6, 7 different credit cards active at once. I've never paid interest, not $1 of interest in my entire life. And this is how credit cards should be taken advantage of. So I'll give an example. So I just signed up for TD Aeroplan credit card probably 6 months ago. I spent probably, let's say, a total of 1 hour of time invested to sign up for this credit card. And why I did that is because I've got Aeroplan points, and I was able to actually, I got, just by setting up for the credit card alone, I had enough to get a $200 Costco gift card. And I've had people that have ridiculed me saying, well, Raj, why are you wasting your time just for this petty $200, $300, etc.? Now, every quarter, I switch credit cards to get these rewards. And here's my argument back to these individuals. Okay, a MacBook that's $2,000 goes on sale for 10% off. You run to the store to save that $200. Or an up a baby stroller that goes 5% off. People are lined up, or they're purchasing online to save that 10%, $50, $100. So why not spend 1 hour of your time to make $200, $300? I've signed up for a WestJet credit card that gave me $350 of WestJet points. Plus, I get 3% off. 3 cents off my gas and fuel.
Gas in Petro-Canada?
At Petro-Canada. I also fill up at Shell. But sometimes when I'm in a pinch and I need to go to Petro-Canada because it's right there, I get 3 cents off. So
can we do a bonus hot take really quickly?
Sure.
Petro-Canada has the best gas of all gas retail companies in Canada. Period. End of sentence. Continue.
So I guess my point with credit cards is you need to be very meticulous and organized, because like I mentioned, I've got 5-6 different cards. If I go spend $100 on a card and I forget about it, that 20% is going to kill me. And going to I don't know what my credit score is. It's probably terrible because I'm pulling out different credit cards all of the time. And I'm by no means a guru. I have people at work that just are phenomenal with their credit cards in terms of the rewards. A lot of them travel for free. They have so many rewards out there that individuals can take advantage of. And so another thing that I get challenged on is, well, Raj, you're damaging your credit score, or you're spending all this money just to save $200. So my argument is, no, that TD credit card, I could have just signed up, got my $200 of Costco gift cards and canceled it and not spent a single dime on it. These companies want you to sign up and spend money and pull interest, and they get those transaction fees. So it's a mutual relationship. But a good resource that I'll link is Red Flag Deals Edmonton, not only for credit cards, but for different banking opportunities.
Generally, Red Flag Deals.
You can see what's going on. So another example, not credit card, but just banking related. I signed up for a Tangerine account, and I got $200 just by putting a certain amount of my income into pre-authorized deposits. I didn't have to put my full income either. That was the nice thing. So what I did is I just had $200 going every paycheck, and then I left it. I forgot about it. And 3 months later, I got an email saying, congratulations, Raj, you've just got a bonus $200. And when I pulled that up, it was like, oh, great. I've got $1,200 from my 6 paychecks plus another $200. I have $1,400 that I can go and use that money for something fungible, because I didn't really think that money of my own. I just got used to that.
Reward yourself.
Yeah. And, again, it's like, Raj, why are you spending this petty 1 hour, even 2 hours to set this up? And, I made $100 an hour, and I didn't actually have to spend any time. I forgot about it, and then it just acted as a separate savings account for me to go use whatever now.
Makes sense. So I got a couple of quick questions for you. Number one, because you said every quarter roughly you sign up for a new credit card because there's reward structure, bonuses that you take advantage of. Question for you is, how do you keep this all straight in your head? Because credit cards are a very time sensitive thing, and if you use it and you forget to pay it in 3 weeks, you will end up paying interest. So is there a central resource that you use that allows you to look at your whole credit card in one place? Like, I have a place like that, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. So I think there's absolutely no excuse to be disorganized with all of the tools we have. Do not take a credit card out and forget about it. That is terrible. Right. That is not what I'm advocating for. So I just have a folder on my phone for banking. I have all my 7 banking apps, Questrade, Tangerine, et cetera, that I use. And I make sure that I monitor them every 3 weeks. I'll pull them up, and I'm generally pretty good. I have my 1 or 2 core credit cards that I like to use for my everyday purchases, like groceries and such, where I'm still earning 1-2% back on money I'm already spending. So those those who argue, well, you shouldn't be using a credit card, you should be using debt. Well, I might as well get that money back if I'm going to be spending that money anyways. So my spouse and I, we sit down every month to go over our budget. And then I also kind of pull our transactions to see, okay, how are we spending our money on our credit card? We're not using it to go and splurge. We're not going and buying stuff we can't afford. So I usually sign up for these credit cards to get the rewards, but I'm actually not using them. I'm using my core couple credit cards that I've had forever, and I'm just exploiting some of the opportunities. And then you can also look at what works for you. So there's a WestJet credit card that's really great if you like to travel. Let's pretend it's not COVID. But that might not be great for somebody
travel.
Yeah, that might not be great for somebody who doesn't travel, right?
So just because you mentioned something really quickly too, is you said you and your spouse kind of got together and make your budget. So is there a different strategy that we should be using when we're looking for a card for ourselves versus when there's a unit, like you and your spouse that have credits together? Because you have individual credits, but you can maybe do supplementary cards. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we don't necessarily. So if I'm, what I've done, so the WestJet credit card specifically, I signed up for me and I signed up for her separately, and we got $350 from each. And we actually still use those cards for gas, like I mentioned, because you get the 3 cents off. But the TD, so the Costco card that I got, I signed up on my own terms. I've canceled that card now. I got my $200 Costco gift card, and I could have also used hers, but sometimes there's an income limit. So if you're together, so the WestJet credit card's a really great one. I think a combined household income, if you have over 80,000, with 2 working individuals, that should be doable, both at 40,000 each. You can kind of merge your income power together in order to get approved for certain credit cards. But sometimes they don't look at that. They'll look, like you mentioned, at your credit score. They'll look at your assets. It's so easy now. I just opened a neobank account 2 weeks ago, and it was all of 5 minutes, which is both scary and exciting because
I like that. Don't finish your thoughts. I want to say something.
Yeah, because I was approved for a credit card in under two minutes, and I could go and spend, the maximum spend amount, like you mentioned, utilization. So that's something that I'm not encouraging by no means. Credit cards can kill you. So just use them for the opportunities, use them for the cash back. You're already going to fill up your car. You might as well get 3 cents off or 2% back if you're spending that money anyways. That's what I'm advocating for.
No, makes sense. So I love the scary part, because that's really my transition. Like, that's my cue to say, like, look, the way I see credit card is in some ways, and to go play the devil's advocate, it's playing with fire. All of a sudden you have access to cash that you clearly don't have, and in 3 weeks when that bill is going to come due, if you don't have that money, you're paying 20+% interest across the industry in a credit card. And it's not 20% interest. Sometimes it's skewed in our head in the sense like, oh, like you pay 20% in a year or something, which is like the stock market. It makes sense, but it's 20% every 3 weeks. It's not even a month. It accrues in 3 week period, which is when the revolving period is for most credit cards. So we have to be very, very careful, because now you're allowing yourself to spend money that you don't have. So you mentioned Dave Ramsey. I love that guy. He has a lot of like your grandpa, grandma's average common sense thinking abilities, and I'm gonna borrow 2 terms from him that I like. One of them is called a plasectomy or a plastic surgery, and both of those refers to cutting up your credit card, and I think it's like a hilarious term that hopefully sticks in your head. But let me work through something like this, because you keep mentioning that banks are really push credit cards. It's a financially mutually beneficial product. The reason being, I want to flag something. It's a zero-sum game at the end of the day. If someone's making money, someone's losing money. So if banks are aggressively pushing credit cards towards new clients, there's a very, very high likelihood credit cards are a very lucrative product for a bank to sell, because they make a ton of money on them. Because I looked up the statistics, not in 2020, because 2020 it wasn't a fair year thanks to COVID, but in 2019, 60 million Americans all paid partial balances on their credit card. 60 million, 60. And that's the amount of people. So if we assume a third of them don't have credit card because they're kids or they're above a certain age or whatever, in the sense, it's like half of the people that can potentially are eligible for credit cards can get them. even then it's an insanely high amount of people. So most people that have credit cards clearly don't pay the balance in full, which is why it's so profitable for banks and financial institutions to perpetuate this product, because they make a ton of money. And like I said, it's a zero-sum game. So if they're making money, the only way they can do that is if you're losing money, i.e. you're paying a ridiculous amount of interest when you're using your credit card. So in the sense that if you have cash and debit card, you can't even hurt yourself, even if you wanted to. And if you're playing with fire or you're playing with credit card, you might actually hurt yourself. Like I always say, we don't ever rise to the occasion of our self-control. We always fall to the lows of our system.
Yeah.
If our system allows us to borrow money that we don't have, then at some point we're obviously going to fall through the cracks and fall victim of the system.
Yeah.
Here's really what surprised me, Raj, and this is specific to cash over credit card, not necessarily debit card, because debit card is still like a plastic product. So there is many studies done, and people tend to spend somewhere between 12 and 18% more when they use plastic product to pay for services versus paying for cash. Because when you pay for cash, it activates a pain receptor in your brain that shows, hey, I'm giving up this calculator to get this loaf of bread. Like that exchange happens because it's a physical exchange. When that happens, as in like, oh, like I'm just swiping this credit card, but by the way, it still came back in my pocket and I got this bread for free. Your brain doesn't get the same receptor, i.e., and I can play this game right away, Raj. I guarantee you will not remember everything that you've bought using your credit card in the last 3 weeks.
Agreed.
There's no way.
Agreed.
So, but if you paid cash for all of those transactions, there's a really high likelihood you would actually be able to place yourself in each of those transactions and remember what you paid for.
So this is a big problem just with materialism and consumerism, people spending the money that they don't have. You mentioned you're safe with debt and cash. Well, if you go to Target or anywhere, you can also have pay, I don't know the term, but pay later.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Financing.
And
so far, everything is
you want a $100 pair of shoes, and by the time you're done paying it after 3 months, you've paid $150. That's just pure stupidity. And the people that want to over lever themselves and buy stuff they can't afford are gonna find a way regardless. And this is a problem that needs to be addressed with financial literacy. 30% of Canadians don't pay off their credit balance. There's between $6,000 to $8,000 in credit card debt, which is absolutely obscene. If you invested $6,000 in the market and made a 20% return every year, you would be richer than Warren Buffett. No word of a lie, because the average return of the S&P 500 is 8%. So take a look at your credit cards, and the annual interest rate, if you actually sit down and crunch the numbers, is obscene. So people need to not lever themselves up and not think, hey, I've got $5,000 balance available, but I make $2,000 a month. I can just put it on credit card and deal with it later, because you will never be able to retire.
Absolutely. It's so asinine. And I'll give you like a perfect example, like, because, we try to think, we tend to believe ourselves that we always think rationally and we think with logic, but we really don't. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. You go and get your Christmas shopping done. Like, you want to buy presents for everybody. You go in with a credit card, guarantee you, like if I budgeted $50 for your present, if I see something that's $70 that you might like, I'll actually just be like, oh, Raj will like that. I'll just get it for him. And that compounds because you're going to do that 20 times for 20 different people. Here's a really simple option. Take $1,000 cash out of your bank account, leave your wallet at home, go in with $1,000. You know you're going to pay $50 for 20 presents. You cannot even screw yourself over, even if you wanted to. Build a better system. Don't rely on like, oh, my willpower is going to kick in when I'm in, Bed Bath and Body or whatever you are to get that gift set. It won't, because your plastic credit card will allow you to do stupid things at that time. I have done stupid stuff. You have done it too. I'm sure we all have. So just build a better system. Use cash, and I'll give you another sort of overlooked benefit of using cash is it reduces your digital footprint. Have you ever wondered like why is Amazon always targeting the exact same thing that you want and brings that up into your monitor whenever you need it? It's because it allows them to track, and all of these data is actually up and available for sale information is currency these days, right? So when you make your transactions with cash, it reduces your digital footprint to the point where you actually don't fall victim of consumerism as often as you would anymore. So I think there's tons of benefits of not using a credit card. Debit card allows you to do every single thing, including fraudulent protection, which is available through credit cards, foreign exchange rates, which is available through credit cards. And you, again, cannot hurt yourself because you can only spend the money that's actually in your bank account rather than over leveraging yourself. Not an option. So that would be, I would say, some of the reasons why I would highly, highly recommend, maybe reconsider getting a credit card, period, end of sentence.
Sure. So I'll wrap the conversation up. We could talk about this for hours and hours. I could give my blunt, honest opinions, but I'll just close off with this. I'm not a gift giver. I hate receiving gifts. Everybody in my family knows that. And if you are in debt and you're purchasing a birthday present for somebody or Christmas gifts, why? I honestly, personally, if I knew somebody is buying me a gift and they have credit card debt or they have whatever they have, it's going to make me feel sick. I would much rather them put that towards their debt snowball. Buy stuff for yourself, stuff you can afford. You don't need to go and buy all these elaborate gifts on credit card. You're not fooling everybody if you're broke. I'm talking like Dave Ramsey now, but I'll just leave it at that. I know some people's love language is gift giving, which I can't fathom, but I mean, that's my own opinion. But if you're in debt, you should not be buying gifts. Change the precedents. Listen to Chris Hogan, listen to Dave Ramsey, and they will yell at you more than I'm yelling now. But with
they're more interesting in the sense too. I would ask. I just want to add a couple things. If you're basically the average typical person is always broke or in debt or not paying their credit card to their full extent, then you don't want to be an average person. You want to be the weirdo. Just be the weirdo. If your family looks at you and picks on you for not buying gifts, or if your friends give you shit for, pardon my swearing, but if they give you crap for basically not giving them gifts or not spending or not going on vacation, just tell them I can't afford it. And it's so liberating to admit that to yourself, hey, you know what? I don't have to keep up with the Joneses. I have my own pace. I'll figure it out in my own way. Just own up to that and admit to it. That's really it. But I think in a future episode, because we're running a little bit too long, we want to cover a few things. We'll maybe talk about what a great credit score is, how we can get, what you can do with that, what should our strategies be in terms of picking credit cards, what are some of the benefits that we get through credit cards that is not immediately apparent, for example, purchase protection, extended warranty, airport lounge visits, stuff like that. So we can mention that on a previous episode so we don't overextend ourselves on this one. Anything you want to add, Raj, before we finish up?
No, thanks. It's going to be a good season. Remember to stay hungry
and stay humble. Thank you.